Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, we're going to dive into some more music. And those that know me know I love my music and not just any kind of music. I like that smooth jazz, that Will Downing, that Kenny G, that David Sanborn. And let me throw my boy out there, Andre Ward and uh, Walter Beasley. I mean, the list goes on. But today is a special musical introduction. And let me tell you why it's special, because this is a word that is blowing up. If you like music, this is a word that you need to know and put in your vocabulary. And today I am pleased that the young man that invented this is on the show. He's going to tell us how all this came about. Let me tell you what this word is. Write this down. Pojazz. Pojazz. And the man who created such an extraordinary global word is in the house, the one, the only Zemill. Welcome to the show, big guy.
What's up, Andre? Hey, man, I'm so excited to be here. And thank you for having me. Thank Desiree for the hookup and the connection. And no, man, I'm just excited to be here, excited about all the things that you're doing, because, I mean, you like at a whole nother level, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, before we get started and talk about your journey, exactly who is Zemill? And that's a beautiful name. How did all that even come about?
Zemill means joyous melody in Hebrews.
Okay.
And so my father, who was not in my life very much, I saw him after about 20 years, and he said he had followed some of the things that I had done over the years. The given name was Ephraim, which means doubly fruitful. And he said, I've never given you anything in your life, but if I were to give you anything, I would have named you iambeast Zemill. And the Ephraim, and then Zemill, which is joyous melodies in Hebrew, because he was a nation person. And so he said that to me, and the moniker stuck. And so I started writing, because he said the writing and the poetry and the music was melody. The melodies were beautiful, and he appreciated, because he was an artist. He had a hit. He was at a group called the Festivals. We're Gonna Make It. Back in the 60s. And so he said, that's what I would have called you. And I liked the name because it was powerful. And so for the last 15 or 20 years, I've been writing, but I've only started, it was like 12 years ago when I really, really took it seriously, when I did the first book, then the second book, and then the first couple of CDs, and then started performing, and people started gravitating to the word Zemill. But that's how it was born.
You mentioned that your father wasn't always there. And it's funny, if people really take a look at their lives, especially men and women, and there's a single family home, it doesn't always mean it was a single family home. But it's funny when you mention that your father, even though he wasn't there, he watched your progress. I was in the same boat. My father watched my progress. I'm gonna tell you a quick journey. I didn't even know my father knew that I was an Olympic candidate or professional bodybuilder until somebody went into the garage and pulled out a box. And there was tons of news articles, because back in our days, you had to be in the newspaper or magazines. And it made me, I asked my dad, I said, what is this? And he goes, I've always followed your career. And I go, wow, that kind of shocked me. When your father told you that, even though he was not always there, I get you. How did that make you feel?
It was special in a kind of cosmic kind of way.
Yeah.
And because he mentioned, and his daughter, one of his daughters, mentioned, they saw me at a track meet, and they said, you personified never giving up, because at a track meet I was running, and I fell down in the prelims in the 300-meter hurdles because I was a hurdler,
Mhm.
and back in high school, and they saw me, and I fell, and I got back up, and it was a prelims, and I got third place after falling. Actually, the guy fell in front of me, and he was a rival. So that sorry devil tripped me. So I fell, and I got back up, and then I ended up qualifying for the finals. The
Right.
next day, I went back and won the finals, and they saw that, and they said, "We saw something in you at that point that said that you were never going to give up, or there was nothing that was going to hold you back." And it was amazing, to your point and question, that feeling of, okay, that sense of he saw me. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He saw me. And I didn't know. I had heard, and I had his records, had his music, but I did not know his connection to me until we actually connected in sight, in eyes, in conversation. And I did not meet him until personally until I was 12 years old.
What do you and I mean we're gonna go really deep because I think the reason why I'm gonna do this is because I believe 100% of this new wave of music that you're putting out for jazz has a lot to do with things that you've gone through. When you first see your dad and able to become a man's mindset, what do you talk about? What does he share with you? What do you share with him?
You know what? We talked a lot about, just we talked a lot about the music. We talked about the versatility. He was always fond of the fact that I could write in any genre. They were really R&B, but I write with the help of, my co-writer Joe McCrae, who's my primary co-writer and producer, and Lenny Nance, who I've done a lot of things with.
Mhm.
We write about uh, all the different genres, whether it's R&B, soul, smooth jazz, and the whole idea behind jazz is to lift your heart, stir your soul, and warm your spirit. So
Mhm.
when I'm thinking about it, and what we talked about was how the music interacted and how the melodies and the lyrics said something. Got a chance to have a conversation with Thomas McClary, founder of the Commodores,
Yeah.
and we were in a class, a workshop with Susie Carter, a workshop, and I performed, he performed, and I did a piece there. And he said to me something similar to what my father said. He said, "Man, your words are saying something." He said, "Thank you for sharing your gift with us." And this is the founder of the Commodores. And
Wow.
I sit down and said, I'm gonna have to record this because this is I've got to keep this. But he said, and he looked at me and said, "Man," he said, "Dude, you're saying something." And so I did an incredible piece, called "Can We Flow," and it was like he was like, "Hey, man, that's deep. That's really deep."
It's funny
So
that you
Paul
said
and I
that
talked
too.
about those things,
It's funny that you said that because I was talking to we was Taylor Swift's concert is here in Indianapolis right now, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I'm not knocking her by any means. And
right?
it's funny what people say behind closed doors. And the thing was, why is she who she is? Like, why is she so like wow? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't understand none of the words that she's saying in there. I don't. Her music is whatever, if you call it music, but she has great marketing campaign behind her. So to go back to what you were saying, why do you think we've lost that ability to amplify the lyrics, the words in music today?
That's a great question, and I will simply answer it in this way. I believe that we have desensitized quality, to a level of understanding that has made it elementary in its cognitive form.
Hmm.
And I believe it's something that, it's kind of like you used to be able to have a conversation, right?
Right.
And you and I are talking right now. But then
Hmm.
somewhere in there that was lost because now we're texting and you have, we've lost that connection. And so we don't know how to talk to people anymore. So
Right.
one of the reasons why conversations have diminished, and the quality and level of conversation and level of a word that I coined in a piece that I did called woke, the intellectual agility
Mhm.
has diminished because we have, for lack of better terms, we've dummied down the conversation, right? And
Right.
so it's hard to appreciate language and words like proclivity and words like articulate and words like accoutrements when that's not what I need. Is because all we need now is got your dude. Oh, yo, hey, see you there, Al, man. It's all good. Peace.
Mhm.
It's just the language itself has been diminished to me personally to a level where I'm not knocking people for how they speak. And this is not about grammar, but this is an answer to your question. The words don't have the value that they used to.
Right.
They're
Right.
not seen and heard the way they were used to, and they don't mean what they used to because we've been indoctrinated, and our minds of just listening to all kinds of stuff. James Brown, this is in a piece of also that I did. I reminded people you're just talking loud, but you're saying nothing,
Right.
right? And so we've got a lot of music to me that doesn't have a lot of substance.
Mhm.
Great beats, great marketing, and talented people, but to the more intellectually again agile, it lacks depth, and so we've lost that, and so I think that's what happened.
Yeah, because I see I was using that as an example because I was like, I remember when you went to a concert, you understood the lyrics when you heard such singers as the Whispers,
Oh
the
yeah,
Isley Brothers,
oh yeah.
even groups like Parliament, Bootsy Collins, even jazz artists, Quincy Jones. You went and not only got a great show, but you walked away understanding what they were trying to tell you. Now it's more like artists. It's more of an entertainment show where they're dancing. It's a light show. I'm like, I don't even understand the words that you're saying.
It's the content, and again, as entertaining as it may be, let me just drop this on you. And I had a discussion like this with a couple of gentlemen in another on another platform, and I was just saying that people now want to be entertained and not educated, and
Yeah, yeah.
and I think that we have to understand that. And so we have to meet them, where they are. And that is another reason why put jazz here in Dallas, particularly in the area, we'll sell out you know, a couple of shows, a couple of nights. And because what we offer is a grown and sexy type vibe,
Mhm.
and it's entertainment, but it's at a level that is classy and it's smooth and it's engaging,
Mhm.
right? And is it sexy? Yes, but I don't do anything vulgar. I don't do anything raunchy. There's no P, D, F or anything, but it's sensual. You know what I'm saying? It's sensual and it's rhythmic. And it's engaging in the audience because the audience are gonna meow, they're gonna go boom, you are the audience is a part of it. And so you're attracted to it because we're saying something and we're putting the words in a way, we're adding the words to the music, and the music is just the underlay of the message and the notes that it's carrying. And so that's why I feel like jazz has been special for me over the last 5 or 6 years, particularly here in Dallas. And now with people like you and connected with people like you, we have an opportunity to,
Yeah.
uh,
Actually,
global.
go global with it.
Yeah, the music has been heard in over 25 countries. But to go to the next level it's about connecting and networking, and again, I thank you for this opportunity.
How how were you able to construct for jazz? I mean, there had to be a series of clicks that went off in your mind, and what were those clicks that even started this project to come about? We know a lot of it is from family, and let's call it what it is. Sometimes family trauma and trauma, even as an adult, marriage, kids, whatever the situation may be, those are sometimes the tools that we use to be even more creative if we have the ability to think critically and not from a fear-based factor. How
Absolutely.
did Pajaz even come out? What was the three things that made this happen for you?
First of all, give honor to God to my mother, who taught me that, as I learned to tell her that I love her, that I loved her, she taught me the work ethic and to believe in whatever it is that I was doing. And no matter what, she would say, you know what you got to do. And I don't care what I had going on in my life. She said, you know what you would have to do. So that was number one, the connection and the belief into my mother and how she instilled in me to go be the very best that I could be.
Mhm.
Number two, it was hearing the music because I am simply an instrument that I believe that has been commissioned to pass on the message of fluidity of thought with meaning that allows melodies to flow in a way that I feel are melodic. And I got an opportunity to get together with, again, Joel McCrae, a friend, on my birthday, January 1st, as a gift, gave me a gift card to meet this gentleman, meet this musician, incredible musician, Joel B. McCrae. And so when we got together, he heard what I heard. So I come up with the melodies, and I say, and he hears that, and then he plays it for me. And so we put it together, and that piece, that cut is called Feeling Saxy, right? And got Fulton Turner's playing the saxophone on it. And so we put that together. And then the third part of it was the presentation of how I felt of watching the Will Downings, of watching the Commodores, of watching, you know, David Sanborn, of watching, Phil Perry and all of those people. How this is what I feel like. I'm sitting in the audience watching all of those shows and concerts, saw Frankie Beverly when he first came to Dallas, his first tour. I watched all of those shows and how they interacted with the audiences. And I said, okay, I want to make the people in my audience enjoy and feel like I'm feeling when I'm seeing them. So that's how it was all constructed, and I hope I hit all three of your points.
Yeah. So how have this is new, and I'm going to support it, and I want the viewers to support it, and it may not be for everybody, but I think if you open your ears and listen with your heart, it can be for you. But how many other artists have gravitated to the concept of pro jazz?
There is only that it's me.
Okay.
Okay, I'm one of the couple of DJs said I'm in my own lane. Now, there are some artists who have done some things similar that are kind of in that vein, like Floetry. They're phenomenal, right? They're phenomenal in what they do, and there are a couple of people who do it in a way where they add the music and the neo soul to it, because we have that element: smooth jazz, smooth R&B, neo soul, spoken word with a touch of, with a blended, with a touch of blues in there.
Mhm.
But what we do is I take the melody, and a lot of them songs start out as poems or lyrics that I convert into the melody. Or it could be a song that I turned into a poem, or I turned into, a jazz piece. And so other artists, I personally don't know them, and a couple of people who I've talked to, that are in radio, said there's no one doing what you're doing, not like this at this level. So when you hear the smooth jazz, you'll say, okay, that's smooth jazz, I can get that. But when you hear the actual jazz, when you hear the blending of it, when you hear me say, you know, um, uh, I want to be your honey nut Cheerios, I want to be your German chocolate cake. I want to be the cocoa and the frosting of your German chocolate cake. You know what I'm saying? When you're hearing that, I will give you a really good one. Like, did you see the movie Love Jones?
Yes.
Okay. So I am like Love Jones on another level.
Okay. And there's nothing
The,
wrong with
the
setting
vibe,
the
the
bar.
vibe. Yeah, that's what the vibe is. And so, but with a lot more versatility,
Okay.
like, you know, the Love Jones, he's saying, I want to see you, feel you going through the road. And he was talking about all those different things that he was doing, and the brother of the night, that kind of whole vibe.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've done some of that, but um it's its own entity, and it's its own vibe. And you're right, it's not for everybody, but there's something in it for everybody.
Right. Right.
Because most of the time when people come to the show, they say, I don't know what to expect, or I didn't know what to expect, but I'm going to come back. And so you just tell me where you're going to be, and we'll do it again.
When I'm listening to different genres of music, especially when it comes to the jazz aspect, we play a lot of Paula Atherton music
Mm.
stuff, the jazz sensationist, with the saxophone. I'm a saxophone guy. I love to hear a sax. I love to hear a bass guitar. What are some of the instruments that really amplify your message, that make people go wow, that you've been hearing from people? Like when people are at your concerts, what are some of the things that they go, I really like that bass lick, I really like that trumpet sound?
All of the above. When I like Fulton Turner, it's like when you go play Phil Saxon, you're gonna say, okay, I get that dude right there. And
Okay.
then Joe McCrae on those keys. It's the keys. Highlighted in the show for me is Joel on the keys, because he's beast mode on the keys. He's Stanley Clark. He's Alex Boone. He's all of that on the keys. And then Fulton is Najee on the saxophone, and it's a tenor sax, alto sax, and a soprano sax. And
Wow.
so we're doing all of that. And then I'm back, and then I bring in the Barry White element of it.
Oh,
You know, I bring in that part of it. And so it's an amazing fusion of uh of energy. So um yeah, it's a feel good vibe. So it really is a feel good vibe.
speaking of vibes, and you said something about the guy you're working with, how he heard what you was doing, resonating. Now on social media, we're getting, and I'm getting into this too, vibrational frequencies.
Absolutely.
Are you,
Absolutely.
are you, I know this is a step above, but
It's a real thing. No, no, no. It's a real thing, because once you're there in that zone, because you think about what it takes to be in the same vibe and the same frequency, where I am just giving you a dum, bum, or I go and then you play it, and then you hear it, and then they add their magic to it. And
yeah,
then a lot of times, sometimes they'll play it and they add their little music to it, and I just, say, you are the air that filled my lungs as life blew its first breath into the sanctuary of love's awakening. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
so it'll just flow like that, and we go with it. And so you have to be on the same frequency or feeling the same vibe in order for it to mesh and for it to work. And when we do it, um, like I said, it's a feeling thing. There's a cut. We did an R&B cut. I did an old school cut. You really gonna like. You say you like the bass lick.
Oh yeah.
So in Stir It Up, right? It's a cut called Stir It Up. Zemill, Stir It Up. And they had never heard it before. And we've not done a full blown release. We put it out there, but not have done a full blown release with it. And it's the bass. It's like the back in the day bass.
Oh,
Like
so a
the
Stanley
like
Clark,
the like
like a
yeah,
Stanley Clark.
Stanley Clark, Word Up, dun,
Yeah.
you know, that
Yeah.
whole kind of bass feel. And they had never heard it before. Let me tell you something, dude. They got up in that place and they started turning out and they were singing it. And when you see the live, I've got to get that to you. The live, this is what was phenomenal about that. The live version of it, we didn't have background vocals in it, right?
Really?
But when you hear the song live, the clip that we did live,
Mhm.
that's the actual crowd singing it.
Really?
That's not background vocals. So when you stir it up, a boom, 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 stir it up. That's the audience that was there that night when we recorded it. That's not us.
Feeling,
On
feeling,
the live version.
feeling the vibe.
There's no live track behind it singing it. It's the actual audience doing it. And they tore it up.
When you, just like every artist, every new venture that comes out, there's a feeling of um, whether or not people are going to resonate. When you first launched the project, what was that like for you? When you first decided to test the waters, what was that like for you?
Again, amazing question. It was euphoric, you know, because sometimes when you an artist, you've done things, you're an athlete, you're in entertainment, you're in radio, you've done things where you said to yourself, not from an egotistical arrogance or whatever, but you said, okay, that was good. And to me, if I tell people, and I said at the show, if I don't say, you know, the entertainment will be good, the Catwoman and all that stuff will be good. But if I don't say anything to enhance and enlighten your heart, soul, mind, and spirit, then I've done nothing. And so when the people move to something
Mhm.
that they have never heard before, because every year for me, when I perform, I do at least 5 different pieces that I've never done before.
Right.
And when they get it, it's a euphoric feeling because it's that connection that you have, you know, with them that is just, you know, just amazing. And that's whether you're doing that's whether I'm doing something serious
Mhm.
or, you know, political or the spoken word part of it, or whether it's the music part of it. You know, we did a brand new cut on in the show, the 2022 show. We did a brand new piece called "It's Just Like That," and they gravitated to the words. So that feeling of just utter uh, again, euphoric, the feeling of just the lifting, the lightness of the brightness, and the light goes off, and the humility, you
Mhm.
know, because they have absorbed and they have connected again on that frequency uh, that's there for them to grasp, and that is a beautiful thing when people feel what you're feeling and become passionate about what you're doing, and you know that it's an amazing thing, and it's a blessing also.
Were you met with, let me put this out there so it makes sense. We all have those haters. Cat Williams said
Ah,
we all have them haters. And you know it's funny, it's really funny. I feed off of that shit. You bring a new concept to the music industry, the entertainment industry, let's call it what it is. You had to be met uh um with haters. Oh man,
yeah.
that's not going to go anywhere. What are you doing? You need to stay in your lane. What was did were you met with that kind of resistance as well?
Some, you know, a little bit of it, yes. And it's so interesting that you should say that because the very first, the poetry book, which is like I said, I took some of the poems and turned them in and added music to them. This guy told me, he said, you know, people they won't gravitate to something like this very much, and this won't sell. You know, you may if you do 40 or 50 books. And this was one of the guys who was helping to publish me at the time, uh, and that was like 10 years ago now, right? So I started the journey, the serious journey in 2012, where I really started performing in, and you know, first time I performed was 5 people. So I've been in front of 5 people and I've been in front of 10,000 people. I actually was the MC for Confunction here for
Oh my God, I
for a
haven't heard
concert.
that
So,
name forever.
yeah, yeah, man, at a park, and it was an amazing event. So, but there were only a few people because mostly uh, the people who heard it were actually converted because of the energy. And there were the doubters who said, they would say, first of all, they said you're too old and you're too, for trying to start something new, and that no one has seen before, no one has done before. But you know what? It didn't turn out. That's a very interesting question that you asked, because it really didn't start as something, me saying that I was going to be in my own lane. That actually came from a young lady that was doing from you what you're doing. She started the talking, and I have uh, uh, a person, National Association of Black Journalists. Her name is Eva Gray Coleman.
Mhm.
She's an officer with them, and she talked about. She called me Z. She said, Z, you in your own lane. You started your own thing, and it didn't. In my mind, the concept. I got the concept of that, but it started out with me wanting to create something for you to enjoy,
Mhm.
and it evolved into that. And the people who hated, that's the noise. I filter that out anyway.
Right.
So I'm thick skinned, been in corporate America for 40 years, and before I left that. So yes, there were those in the beginning, but they fell off because they saw that that it was not going to affect me.
You walked away from corporate America, and it's so funny that you said that because we had a few people that come on the show, and it's funny. We just had a guest on yesterday, and she was an accountant, went to school. Everybody was directing her on where to go, and she didn't want to do that. And now she's happy doing what she's doing. We got guys that's happy doing what they're doing. Why is it greatness always surfaces when we decide to walk away from the bullshit that society has us programmed to go to? Now, you was in corporate America, you hated it. I mean, when did you say, you know what, I'm tired of this bullshit? This isn't what I want to do. This isn't me.
You know what? Let me confess something to you on your station. For me, I actually loved my job because I did it for almost 40 years.
Okay.
So I was 30 years in before I decided to go to my music. And
Okay.
so while I was there the last 10 years, I used corporate America to help fund and set me up to do my music because I had a plan. And so I saw the long range plan. So I retired in December of 2022
Mhm.
because a lot of people and that I hear and see, and I know artists, they say, God told me to quit my job. No, God didn't tell me to quit my job, and so you struggle. So what I did was I said, this is going to be my 5-year plan. This is going to be my 10-year plan. And this is how I'm going to get there. And
And
so for me, corporate America was great because it allowed me to nurture, the performance, to get better at it, to perfect what it was that I did on stage. So for me, it was a good thing. It was a great company, great benefits, and I've got retirement, and so
yeah,
it allowed me to do what I needed to do.
what's the before we wrap up, what was the what's the main purpose for jazz for you? What's really the main focus on it?
The main focus of the jazz is that we connect with people, and that again we lift your heart, stir your soul, and warm your spirit, and give you a grown and sexy vibe, and take you to a place to where you can leave when you come in with me, or whether you're sitting at home with the music, you can leave the outside world behind. And there is some magic to it. There's a beauty and a seduction and a part of it that will pull you in, and it will relax your senses, and it does that in many different ways. And the idea is for you to feel good, right? Is
Mhm.
to mellow you out and to put you in that mental physical and emotional place that will allow you to find pleasure in whatever it is that you are doing.
What do you tell the young artists who haven't really experienced this new level of music? How do you get them involved? Is there a way to get them involved in understanding the concept? Because anybody can't just do it. Because this is your baby. There is an art. There's a system in place here in order for this to actually work. Is this something that you can teach new artists to learn how to implement pro jazz into their music?
Yeah, another good question. There are people who have heard what I do and now they are doing it.
Oh,
They've seen what I do and now they are doing it because they see the audience engagement. So when I see like a lot of the young artists here in Dallas, I don't travel a whole lot, to do things. But when I'm here around now, they've actually even uh, did shows and started shows, and we're going to have a jazz and poetry. So I started with Curtis King, who's the Black Cat of Arts and Letters. He had a poets and jazz night, and so I was the featured artist for 10 years.
wow.
We did 2 nights in a row, and we were killing it, for 2 nights. And so I thank Curtis for his opportunity, his platform, and a lot of the people who came through the Poets and Jazz series through Curtis King and the Black Academy of Arts and Letters, who saw me, they started adding music and poetry and more, pieces that got the audience involved. So you can affect people in a way to where they see what works, and
Mhm.
they understand the movement. Because at the end of the day, if the crowd is just sitting there with their hands like this, or they looking up there, because you know how we do now, we sit out in the audience, we say, okay, impress me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we'll do that. And so I have done it through the example. In direct answer to your question, I believe the way that I do it, and yes, I can teach it, and some of them ask me questions about different things, but the way I do it is, let me show you. And then if it's something that you feel, come along and roll with me, which is one of the first singles, come along and roll with me. Go with me on this, And that's how I do it. You teach them by doing it. And if they see that it works and they're feeling it, they'll go with it and they'll come with you.
Z, what's your secret for success? We know you have a great supporting cast, you have a great publicist, great people around you, people that are vibrating on the same frequency that you are. But if somebody had to ask you personally right now, what is your secret to success?
I don't know if I can put it in just one particular thing. I would say that I believe in God. I believe that we have a creator. I believe in me. I believe in the strength and the spirit of my mother's and the prayer and my mother and the prayers that I'm living on. And I believe in the music. I believe in the word, and I'm passionate about it. So the secret to me is you have to be on fire with what you are doing and how you're feeling it. I did a piece, and one of the things that I live by is that we are the sum of the choices we make, the chances we take, and the opportunities we create. And I live that. And I combine that with your gift is your lift, that we are unstoppable when we choose to be greater. Let your life be a guiding light to those who are not able. And when our sun has set and we stand before our creator, we can say, Lord, I gave it all I had. I left nothing on the table. So I believe in who I am, and I believe in the gift, and I believe that it was anointing, and I believe that the word, and like Thomas said, that it's saying something. And if you're saying something and you're doing it, the secret is that I'm not doing it for the fame, I'm not doing it for the money, I'm not doing it all of that. It's the message that I want to be heard, in order that it would enhance, uplift, and enlighten the minds and hearts of others. So I'm doing it with honesty of purpose. So my secret is that I'm doing it unselfishly, and I'm doing it with vigor, and I'm doing it with drive and passion.
How can the viewers reach out to you and support you? How can they listen to your music? And more importantly, if they're young artists and they want to try to get their foot in the door, I'm pretty sure they can reach out to you. How can they get all that information?
For all things Zemill, go to Zemill.com, Zemill's for Jazz on Instagram and TikTok, Zemill's for Jazz Experience on Facebook and YouTube.
You know what?
Zemill.com.
I
Music is everywhere. The music is on all the platforms. Spotify, Apple, Zemill, just Google it. I'm
And you
out there.
can listen to all the music also on I Am Beast Radio. We're gonna drop all of his songs that way you guys can listen to them as well. We're gonna have you come back and do another episode because you're also very historically inclined. That's gonna be a whole different topic, and I'm really impressed because we talked a lot
Yeah, we
yesterday.
did. It's a great
That's
conversation.
got to be its own show. So we're gonna
It
have
is. It
you back.
is. It is. It is. It is.
I
You
mean,
know what? I went back and did some homework because I got in front of me right now like 20 different dates that I was just going to throw at you.
yeah, we're gonna do that off camera because we're gonna come back because that's a whole different ball game. But
Yeah.
anyway, Zemill, thank you so much for taking the time out to come and bless us with your music. Guys, please support, follow, enjoy the music. It may not be for everybody, but there's a message in it. This has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show.